As a woman in midlife, have you ever come out of a doctor's appointment just feeling defeated? You're talking about the symptoms that you have and working on the treatment plan that they've given you. And it just feels like each and every time you go back, it's just not getting better or you're not being listened to. You just feel ashamed because, like, all the things that you've ever tried in your life that have worked before are not working anymore. And it feels like you're doing something wrong. Well, if you found yourself in this position, I want you to stick with me for this episode. So keep listening.
Welcome. This is Midlife Crisis to a Centered Life Thriving, a podcast that teaches women in midlife to unapologetically stop silencing their dreams and start designing the lives they want to live in. I'm your host, Dr. Natalie, and as a clinical psychologist of the last 2 decades and a twice divorced single mother myself, I not only know how hard it can feel heading into midlife, I am living it right here with you. I have taken all the many failed attempts and lessons learned in my own life and combine it with my extensive clinical experience to give you the tools you need to make midlife the best time in your life. No joke. So let's get started.
Welcome back, everybody, to Midlife Crisis to a Centered Life Thriving. Today, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling all the feels. And it's because I just had one of these doctor's appointments, like I talked about in the intro. I feel defeated. Right now, I feel sad, actually, about it, and shameful, I guess, sad and shameful. I'm going to get angry. I can already tell that the next step in my grief, I guess, I don't know. I'm going to get angry about it, but I want to give you guys some background. I want to let you in on a little window. So about 1.5 years ago now, I was diagnosed with fatty liver disease. So this is, common. I think most adult Americans, I don't know what the percentages are. You'd have to look it up, but like almost half of us, it seems, as we gain weight and our older years get fatty liver deposits. So it's nothing like earth shattering. It's nothing like you probably have it. You might even have it and not know that you have it. And the way that I found out about it was that we did a little bit more investigating because I was having some gastrointestinal issues. And so they just started looking in the right places. And this became a diagnosis that I got. Now, this is happening while I'm gaining weight in midlife. No matter what I do, no matter how I eat, no matter how much walking I do, it doesn't matter. Just have incrementally every single year gained about 5 pounds for the last 5 years. And this extra weight is significant, right? Turns out today I found out like 180 pounds or more is obesity for somebody who's 5'5". And so, okay. So I ride that line. Either I'm in the obesity or as of today, I was 179.5. So I was in the history of obesity. What? That's the diagnosis that they gave me. But all to say that I have been on a journey since about 1.5 years ago to figure out how do I get rid of the fatty liver. And to go back even further than that, the reason this is so important to me is not about, I was going to say it's not about my vanity and losing weight, but that certainly plays a part. So we can talk about that too. But the bigger issue for me is I lost both my parents I was in my early 30s. They were 63 and 64. They died 9 months apart for different health issues that were preventable, treatable health issues. One of them, it was liver related. Now, that was my father. And for him, the issue with his liver came from his alcohol use predominantly, but it also came from his diabetes and insulin resistance. And so it was kind of a double whammy for him and was irreversible by the time he was paying attention to it. So I felt like, okay, I'm 48, I think, when I got diagnosed with this, 49, 48, 48. I'm like, okay, this is my wake-up call. I'm a single parent. It is really important to me to be around for a long time. I have 10-and-a-half-year-old and a 22-year-old. Like, I want to be here when they have kids and when their kids have kids. So getting this diagnosis was really scary for me. It's not a, cancer diagnosis where, like you're in a fight for your life eminently, but it is a fight for my life. And I know it is because I know my family history and I know what my ACE score is, which is the Adverse Childhood Experience Study. And I know that my risk for these health conditions is, 10 and sometimes 20-fold what it is for people who haven't had adverse childhood experiences as I have. So all of this in combination, it's like I know too much, right? All of it. And so I started on the journey, and it's been really maddening, like I talked about in my podcast last week. I feel like I get resistance at every turn. And then when I start to do the right thing, that it's not right enough. Right. And so there's like this microcosm in this experience of the bigger system issue that I've railed against, tussled against all of my life, where I just never feel like enough, never enough, never enough. That's the theme. And that was really where I felt defeated today after my doctor's appointment. So the journey has been that, like, first they wanted me to lose weight. And if you know anything about liver conditions, you know that when the liver isn't working, it's not going to release the fat that's on it. And it also is not going to let your body release the fat in the way that you need to. And so it's kind of this that I'm in where I need to lose weight to help my liver, but my liver won't let me let go of weight. And so losing weight is really difficult for me to do. And my primary physician just kind of the first thing sent me to a liver specialist, and my primary physician and the liver specialist said the same thing, just like it's diet and exercise. Okay. The trope, right? So ding, 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 like diet culture, exercise culture, body shaming culture, like all of that stuff got triggered immediately. All of that stuff got triggered. I'm getting sad about it, just talking about it. It's like, I had literally done nothing different. And I kind of, from the beginning, have always felt incensed about this because I am more health conscious than most people, at least in my family system. Okay. So all of us have the same ACEs, and all of us have the same predisposition to have these health conditions at a, multiple fold rate. And I have been paying attention to that for a long time and have been asking my physicians, like, what else should I do? What else should I do? Do we need to be giving me, medications for this or, somehow preventative measures or whatever? And no, your labs are normal. No, your labs are normal, which is true. They're within normal limits. And I have a fatty liver. So nobody caught my fatty liver from my within normal limits labs. It wasn't until I had an ultrasound and a scan that they knew that that was happening. And they don't do ultrasounds and scans unless you have major symptoms that they can't describe or figure out or account for otherwise in your labs. So like this never would have gotten caught had I not had the stomach issues that I was having. And we didn't start to go down the road of maybe one of my organs isn't properly working. So let's take an ultrasound and a scan of those. So it's like there's this incensed piece of me, it's the part that's going to get angry, right? It's like the part right now is very sad and feels very shamed that I'm in this boat. But the part of me that gets really angry is that I've done all the right things. And this is a common theme on this podcast. Many women who are in that midlife transition and feel like they're more closer to the crisis side than a centered life thriving, many of them talk about, but I did everything right. And you did. You did. I did. And I'm still here, right? Menopause, perimenopause, the changes in my estrogen, the way that when estrogen goes out the window, a lot of things just are not compensating in the same way in your body. And you just start to have things like insulin resistance and weight gain, and all the same things that you've done for years, decades will not work for this, right? This thing, it won't work for. Your stress resilience drastically reduces, your adrenal glands take over, your estrogen production at a lower level, of course. But all of that kind of translates into layman's terms into you can't manage as much stress as you used to, and you never will be able to manage as much stress as you did at your prime. You're going to have to come up with more stress resilience strategies. There's just no two ways about it, or reduce the stress in your life. Well, guess what, guys? I'm a single parent. I have had 2 divorces, which financially depletes you. There is no time soon that I'm going to be able to stop working. There is no time soon that I'm not going to be a responsible, parent for a kid that lives with me full time. There's just like none of that is waning. So I don't get to step off the stress train. I don't get to get off of it. So I'm going to have to figure out other ways. And clearly my body is, feeling the weight of that. So on this journey, they wouldn't, because my labs are normal, they wouldn't give me things like a continuous glucose monitor. So I had to pay for that out of pocket. Great. I didn't qualify for a nutritionist. And so, I would have had to pay for that piece out of pocket with the insurance that I had when I first started this journey. Now I can. But when I first started this journey, I couldn't. And so I, again, paid out of pocket for I think she was a dietitian. I paid for a dietitian and a constant glucose monitor and an app. And we, for 6 months, really drilled down what I was eating and how I was eating. Clearly from the beginning, she was like, you're doing a really good job, actually, but let me help you and adjust you in a few of these areas. So I made all those adjustments. And during that time, I got to tell you, it was hard. Food diaries are tough for me. It reminds me of times in my life when I've eaten in a disordered way, like paying too much attention to the food. I always tell people it feels like the image of the cat in a hat, like standing on the ball with the rake, and the fishbowl on the top of the fishbowl is the cake and a ball. And like, how like standing there precariously, and then it like all goes flying everywhere and starts the mess and all of that. That's why I feel like I'm standing on that ball, and like I'm adding, okay, let's do more protein, and let's watch our fiber intake, and let's reduce how many carbs, and let's order the food that we're eating in a different order. And let's, not go over this much macronutrient in this meal, because that actually will just get converted to fat, even though it's good for you. Like all of these pieces were just like one more thing, one more thing, one more thing, one more thing on top of that rate, as I'm precariously balancing on that ball. But I did it. I did it for 6 months. I had a period where I kind of bottomed out with it, but she helped me to get back on the train. We dialed in my nutritions, and I didn't lose weight. I maintained weight, which my primary physician is happy about, because she's like, well, your labs are staying about the same. So I don't have to give you any medications for things like high cholesterol, but you're borderline, or, you're not pre-diabetic, but you're right on the verge of being pre-diabetic, like 0.5 points or something away with my A1C. Like literally, it's like the 180 pounds. I'm obese one day and the next day I'm not. But come on, people, like this is a really fine line that I'm writing. But my primary physician was happy because I'm not gaining, which had been the pattern prior to this. So to her, it's a win. To me, it feels defeating, right? So early on in this whole thing, the liver specialist had said, I'll make a referral to a weight clinic if you want me to. I'm like, okay. So I felt kind of at my wit's end, like I had done everything that I could do. So I asked for the referral. And I have started seeing some weight clinic specialists, so a nurse practitioner in weight management and a nutritionist now, because it's covered under my insurance and through this, whole journey. And that is the appointment that I had today. They go together in tandem. And it was kind of like this whiplash experience, which it was the last time that I went. So the nurse practitioner is amazing and very validating and answers all of my questions. Oh my gosh, sorry. So last week I talked in the podcast about how, like, I think there's something super valuable about feeling seen and heard and understood. And this was one of the first Western medicine providers that did that for me, is this nurse practitioner. She's really good. So I felt heard, I felt seen, I felt validated for the things that I had done right. Oh my gosh. And the whiplash is then I go to see this nutritionist and I tell her all the things that I'd been doing for that 6 months. And one by one, I was told I didn't do this right. I didn't do this right. I didn't do this right. I should be doing this. I should be doing this. I should be doing this. And to be quite honest, the psychological emotional response that I had to that was, fuck all of you. I'm not doing any of that. I'm going to stick with the plan that I had kept my my weight in check up until this point, that I spent my own money out of pocket for 6 months to invest in to figure out. Screw all of you. Well, folks, I still haven't lost any weight, but I haven't gained any weight. And I went back in, and the nurse practitioner again, very validating. There's one area that I talked about last week that I haven't done, which is strength training. So they want me to do it. I'm really struggling with the defeated feeling with that probably won't work either. And it feels like one more thing on top of the rake, on top of the fishbowl, on top of the cake, on top of the ball that is just like I'm gonna fall. I'm gonna fall if I add that one more thing. Like I don't know how. And my stress resilience is not what it used to be, obviously. And so I'm not able to just kind of push myself through that stubbornness. So I use my own, what I teach in coaching, which is self-compassion, self-compassionate awareness. So I show up to it very curiously, like, why? Why am I having such a breakdown? Okay, I know why. It's the programming and conditioning. It's the way that we've been taught that we need to, be a certain way, look a certain way to have worth in the world. And it's bumping up against that for me. And it might be kind of one of the places where I stubbornly feel like I still have agency. Like, screw all of you, I don't want to do that. It's like, make this work without me doing that piece, because I don't want to injure myself. I've had frozen shoulder. I've had, injuries that took months to get better because of oxidation and all the things that start to happen to the muscles when you're in this stage of life. You don't recover as fast. Your body is not regenerating like it used to. Telomeres on the end of your DNA are shorter, and you just can't regenerate in the same way. So went today, had this experience again of the whiplash. Like, the one provider, very, very helpful. The second provider, why didn't you do any of those things? Well, you should be doing this. Well, walk me through what you're eating. Well, I can already tell that you're not making enough fiber. Well, if you haven't been if you haven't been logging it, how would we know? And I'm like, because I'm literally eating the same thing. Sometimes I get even bored, but I'm literally eating the same thing that I have eaten forever and ever and ever since this 6-month adjustment. So I know if I'm doing the things that I've done when I was on a CGM and watching it, that it's the same. I can feel it in my body. I know what my body feels like. If I have too much of a carbohydrate and I do a spike in my insulin, I know what that means. So then she tested me on that. Like, well, how much is a spike? Well, if it doesn't go above 150, it's not a big deal. Well, if it's a 30-point or 40-point jump, it's not a big deal. Well, as long as it comes down over the next hour. And I'm like, well, sometimes it was 2 or 3 hours. Well, we don't have those pieces of data. So I think that you saw a dietitian. I think she was outside her dad. Like, that experience was humiliating. It feels icky. And you get to the point where we've all been trained, right, to shut down. Like, okay. Like, I just started to nod my head and, yep. Do you have any other questions? Absolutely not. I want to get out of this room as best as humanly possible, because this felt really shitty. Your bedside manner really sucks, because saying those things with a smile doesn't make me feel better about it. Telling me that it was the dietitian's fault doesn't make me feel better about the thousands of dollars I spent to get that help, because that's what you guys told me to do, because I couldn't get to a nutritionist within this system. Okay. So this is what it feels like to be in these health circles, like it just feels like a closed loop in midlife. You're doing all the right things and you're still feeling crummy. And I know you are, and I am too. And I wanted to share my experience with you today, just so you don't feel alone out there. I'm doing my best to be compassionate towards myself, and through my own curiosity, try to push back on what I've learned about what strength training is. And it's part of diet culture, and it's part of looking a certain way. And I'm going to feel defeated if I start this and it doesn't make me lose the weight. Like, it'll be just another nail on the coffin is what came to mind, but it just feels that way, right? I know that you're doing the best that you can. And honestly, that is wonderful. And if you're not hearing it anywhere else, I want you to hear it here. You are doing a great job. I'm doing a great job. And the folks that have been taught to spin this in such a way that they're criticizing and nitpicking, that's what they've been taught to do. And I need to detach myself from personalizing that. The industry is really what I have a problem with. Western medicine is really what I have a problem with, individual providers without, the savvy of a bedside manner. I should be able to detach from that over time. But on a day like this, you got up early, you went down to the appointment, you hadn't gained any weight. So you were hoping, like, at least I'm on the right track in some capacity. Didn't feel like that. Didn't feel like I walked away with that. And now I feel like I've walked away with like way more to-do list things. And I'm super emotionally and psychologically resistant to that. So it's not strength training, but I have to start logging again. And I have to prove myself essentially to this nutritionist. And it feels gross. I just want you to know you're not alone if you're experiencing things like that too. And maybe yours isn't, a weight loss journey, right? Maybe yours is the hot flashes and the night sweats and the lack of sleep, and you want HRT and they're just not considering it with you. Or they gave you an HRT like they gave me, which was like a giant tablet to put in your vagina, which, hello, is never going to work. Okay. Yeah, you might be in that boat. You might not feel heard when you go into the doctor, but I want you to know that here you will feel heard. You are seen and you are understood. And I want to hear from you. So please leave your comments and let me know what else you want us to unpack and talk about here so that you and I can journey on this together and know that you're not alone in this mission to go from a midlife crisis to a centered life thriving.
Because I am a licensed clinical psychologist in the state of Minnesota, I have to make sure at the end of each of these episodes that I give you the disclaimer that none of the material that I talk about in these podcasts is meant to replace any kind of therapy or formal medical or mental health treatment. And in fact, anything that I offer on my website, my coaching programs, any kind of psychoeducational materials that I release are not a replacement for that level of care. So just take that into account when you listen. This is information for you, and hopefully you find it of value, both as an educational tool and for your entertainment. And I also want to mention that if anyone you know is in a mental health crisis, needs additional help, I always include these two crisis resources. They're available to anybody. Pick up the phone and dial 988 for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And you can always visit their website at suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Additionally, there's actually a crisis text line. So if you're not somebody that likes to pick up the phone, text HOME to 741-741 to the crisis text line. And you can find them online at crisistextline.org. Thank you for listening to my podcast, and I hope that you like and follow me wherever you get your podcasts, and maybe consider leaving me a review. It always helps me to keep this podcast relevant when I know what you want to hear about.